right, guys. So guess what? I am in Sacramento, West Sacramento,
That's right.
at Super Training with my man Mark Bell, Mark Spelly Bell.
I wasn't expecting you to touch me like
Hey,
that,
like that,
so
huh?
early in the
Hey.
video here, but
He jumped when I touched him too, by the way.
a little bit.
So today, you guys see me do floor pressing. We do this primarily because we want to keep the athletes safe from that overstretch of the shoulder, especially with my fighters. And again, when you're talking about directed correspondence to the sport, when you're talking about a bridge and roll perspective, as you go to press, right, you're using the muscles of the triceps and the anterior delts. So today, I have a guy here. I'm gonna touch him one more time. So he's actually pretty strong. If you didn't know, bench pressed
854.
That's 854 pounds if you didn't know. So he's going to show me about a thing or two,
That's right.
taking his words too as well, about floor pressing. So Mark, take it away.
Yeah, so floor press is a great movement for a lot of different reasons. Phil touched upon the fact that it's not going to overstretch the shoulder. Another great reason to do it is because I believe last time I checked, I think all gyms have a floor, right?
Pretty much.
So if you got a floor, then you're in a barbell and a rack, you're in business. So you just need to lift it off of something. But another great advantage of it is for people that have kind of just a bad back, because I see a lot of people trying to bench press and they're coming off of a back injury, and they're trying to keep their squat heavy and they're trying to keep their deadlift heavy, or maybe it's a fighter and they're recovering from a back injury. I would love to see people that are having some trouble with their back bench press on the floor more often, so that way they can keep their back nice and flat. And I'll show you how to do that. And there's some variations of the floor press. So the first way to do it, if you have a banged up back, would be to have your feet flat on the ground, and you're going to notice that my back is going to be totally flat. This is something I utilize for myself, and I utilize with a lot of powerlifters. Even going into a powerlifting meet, I'll have them switch to doing floor presses, not all the time for their bench pressing, because they need to stay on top of how to bench press because they're going to enter a powerlifting meet. But where we can get away with it, I have them do a floor press. That way it takes off some of the pressure off the lower back, and then it allows them to deadlift and squat a little bit more. So get down in here, bam, and see my feet are flat and my lower back is flat on the ground. Now, one of the things, we put a mat down here, and that's just so that our shoulder blades aren't getting shoved into the ground really hard, which is just kind of uncomfortable and probably just not a smart move. And so we just got a little pad. If you don't have a fancy mat like this, you can just have a towel down, or just anything I think will be better than the floor. Grip wise, whatever grip you're normally comfortable with is totally fine. And we still want to get ourselves in position. Just because it's a floor press, it doesn't really change a lot of the aspects of bench pressing. We still need to organize our upper body. We still need to organize our chest and get our body in a good solid position so that the back, so that your shoulders are stable. And you're seeing like a little bit of an arch, but my lower back is still relatively neutral. As we come down in a floor press, you bring the elbows into the side, but nothing real drastic. We're not trying to really break the elbows in like this or anything crazy. And we're also not out here. So be strict with it. Get those elbows in and press from there. And it's going to feel weird the first couple times you ever do this. It's going to feel like you're going to drop the weight. It's going to feel a little awkward. Another key tip here on a floor press is you have to rest the triceps on the ground, or rest your arms on the ground, whatever kind of hits first, depending on how jacked you are or aren't. But bring your arms down to the ground, rest them, and explode back up. And again, just a little demo again, just to go over it again. So here at Super Training, we always pull ourselves in a position by utilizing the barbell. We do that on bench, squat, deadlift. This is a form of benching. So I'm going to take my shoulder blades, kind of tuck them in the back pocket a little bit, just get the sternum up a little bit just to help stabilize the upper body. Upper body feels stable. I feel good. I'm ready to go.
Now, a lot of times with the fighters that I have, right, they will do the press, but they will almost loosely lax their wrist. how important is it to have that grip strength and to have that neutral position of the wrist and the elbow?
Yeah, you really want to try to stay connected to the bar is what we call it. And whether it's bench, squat, or deadlift, we're trying to bend the bar around our body. And so when we want to squeeze the bar firmly and then pull our lats in, it's hard to it's a hard thing to do when you're new to feel these things and to understand some of the language. But you basically just want to take the bar and pretend that you're bending the bar. You want to squeeze it very firmly because you want to have your wrist and your elbow stacked. Could be viewed a little bit like throwing a punch. I'll show you in a second on why it could be important. But as you take that weight down, your wrist doesn't need to be like that or anything. I mean, that would be crazy. You'd probably drop it. So there might be a little bend, especially as you get a little bit more weight in there. But you really do want to squeeze the bar firmly and then pull the weight down. Have those elbows rest on the ground and throw the weight back up. You can also just have your feet out this way. You can cross them, whatever way you want. This makes the lift just more challenging. Kind of makes you look a little bit more lazy too. But it makes the lift a little bit more challenging just because there's absolutely no leg drive. Lastly, I don't have any problem with people doing a little bit of this. I see that sometimes where people will throw their hips up. It's not really preferred, but it just allows you to use a little bit more weight. So anytime you get an opportunity to use more weight, I think that's a good thing. To kind of illustrate what we were talking about the wrist earlier, Phil's been in a couple fights in his life, and I think that he would absolutely love it if somebody came up to him and punched him like this. Right? Because he would just be like, that's not going to work, buddy. Mm-hmm. And then he would just look at me and probably headbutt me, and I'd die.
I got something for you later.
But you want to try to stack your wrist and your elbow. Mm-hmm. If you're going to throw a punch, that's the way you would be doing it too, right? And we're trying to just get ourselves in the most powerful position possible. So if our wrist is back, you're not going to be able to press anything that way.
Exactly. I always tell the guys, act like you're punching the ceiling, in a sense.
Yeah.
Right? So they'll stack their elbows, and then from here, it's just punch the ceiling. Pull it into you, punch the ceiling. Just like we talked about. It's perfect. Now, where can we put this into a program? Is this something that we can do year-round, or is this something that you would do more closer to a competition?
I think you can use this anywhere. I've used it over the years for dynamic effort work. I've used it for just an example. I mean, a lot of times when you're trying to get strong, we got access to, 10 lifts or so.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's a wide variety of lifts, but there's about 10 main lifts that you would do. Bench, squat, and deadlift would be in there. There's a bunch of other things that you can do as well. But when you start to go through that list and you rotate through that list many, many times over, and you've been doing this for a long time, things start to wear down. Mm-hmm. Shoulders start to break down. Your lower back starts to break down. So why not incorporate something like this wherever you can? Just use it as needed. Mm-hmm. For me personally, I've used it on max effort stuff. I've used it on dynamic effort stuff. Mm-hmm. I've used it for secondary barbell movement work. I've used it going into competitions. I've used it coming out of competitions. But what I would say is if your shoulder hurts, your back hurts, if something's feeling beat up, something's feeling off, something's feeling weird, it'd be great to incorporate this for a little while, because why not take some of the load off the shoulder for a little bit?
Exactly. All right, well, there you have it. What we're going to do next? We're going to go ahead. I'll probably get down on this. Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll throw some weight on there. And I'm also a huge proponent of the conjugate method, the conjugate system, and just mixing up exercises. And so this is just another great addition to being able to mix up exercises when it comes to bench pressing. Mm-hmm. We got, regular bench press, and then from there you got like board presses. Sure. You can press out of a rack, out of any one of these racks to do partial range of motion. Mm-hmm. We have, what we're going to be doing today, which is a floor press, and it's going to put a little bit more stress on the triceps, a little bit more stress on the lockout. We're also going to utilize chains. I'm sure you guys are no strangers to this. Seeing Phil using chains and bands and stuff like that. But what do the chains do? They accommodate resistance. So we're going to have them on the end of the bar here. When they're on the end of the bar, they're going to go down like this. And when we push back up, they're going to come back up with us. When we're in the most vulnerable position, which would be the bottom of the bench press, there's going to be less weight on the bar because there's going to be more chain piled up on the ground. You following me? You guys are on page 43, paying attention? You taking notes? You got your number 2 pencil? So there's going to be more weight on the ground here, and And that's going to pile up, and so there's less weight on the bar. And as you come up, there's more weight on the bar, right? So we'll throw those guys on to kind of start, get warmed up. Go ahead and hit a set. This is also commonly referred to as accommodating resistance. There's going to be more weight at the top, less weight at the bottom. And it makes it just feel more explosive, more powerful in a way. You don't want to try to move slow with these kind of weights. Whenever using bands or chains, you want to try to move fast. Get through the range of motion as quick as you can. Each one of these chains weighs 20 pounds. There's approximately half the amount of chain probably on the ground for each rep that he was doing there. Another great opportunity to do floor press is if you got a banged up knee, because you can't have the same leg drive anymore. So hip, knee, ankle, anything like that where it just makes it harder for you to have any sort of leg drive. Do something more comfortable like the floor press.
Yeah, I'm gonna go legs straight on this one.
All right. And then lifting off and stuff's all the same. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Cranking through it. 1, 2, 3, up. There we go. Let's go for a triple. There you go. Yeah. Somebody's got to coach the coach, right?
That's it.
Check on some wrist wraps.
Gangster rap.
Mainly just because I sell them, not that you need them. Protect yourself before you wreck yourself is what I usually say. And like a fighter, wrap your fist and not just your wrists. Like that. Bam. That's to create what we were talking about earlier. Just stacking the bones and not letting your wrists bend way back while you're bench pressing. Oh. Come on. This is a really wide variety of ways to utilize this exercise. For me, I've always liked to do work up to heavy triples or singles, and then usually if I'm on something, I just stay there. Just I don't know, I just learned that like starting to try to set something else up just takes time. And so from a perspective of efficiency, a real easy example for this particular day would be like we might work up heavy with the chains on there. We might pull the chains off and do some rep work. In fact, that's what we'll give a go here today, so you guys can kind of see it. And I call that a secondary barbell movement. So the next movement we'll do is the same movement, just without the chains, give you a different stimulus. 1, 2, 3, up. Nice. There you go. Easy. Smooth. And I usually like to throw a belt on for bench pressing too.
Where can we get that belt there, Mark?
You can get this belt from markbellslingshot.com. It's called the Strong belt. Oh my God, he's so strong.
So lean. You get all the way in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's different from about 4 or 5.
That's what she said. I like wearing a belt on bench pressing because I think that the position that you try to hold on a bench press, even though the floor press is a little different, but the position that you're trying to hold statically, I think can just cause some problems for people with their lower back. So why not throw a belt on? It doesn't hurt, doesn't get in the way. Might just be supportive. 225 pounds. This is like what I weighed when I was like 10. Oh!
to it.
I've been doing good.
Yep.
Getting in sets of tree. 1, 2, 3 up. There you go, good. Still moving smooth. Yeah. I think something I failed to mention earlier. So I feel that a bench press, or I'm sorry, a floor press. I think a floor press can be really helpful in teaching you how to bench press. Teaching you how to get tight in a bench press. For me, like when I'm at the bottom of this, I feel really, really strong. And it's because I'm trying to kind of shove my elbows into the ground. Not hitting my elbows on the ground, but trying to shove my arms back. So when I get to here, I'm like squeezing and I'm like rowing. I'm doing like a row. And then when it's time to press, I reverse it as strong as I can. And it might be something that Phil and some of his fighters might do, where they do like a push-pull, or just throw somebody, where you give somebody a little something and they try to counteract it, but boom, next thing you know, you're on your back because you tried to counteract it. So same thing with this particular movement. I'm squeezing the back so hard that I'm ready to reverse it, and I'm in a good, strong, powerful position with a lot of stability.
Go, Mark.
Oh, oh, come on. Right. Oh, wow, let's go. Oh, come on. Oh, get it.
Woo. This part right here is critical. This is where people mess up. So he's doing his own workout, and it's really important. So we went 2 plates. You guys saw me jump to 3. As much as he would want to party with me, he knows it's not smart. Same thing if he's gonna train me in some MMA. Yeah, he can just kill me. But like, what good is that? Well, I'm not gonna be able to adapt to that. So you need things that you're gonna be able to adapt to. And so he took the 10, and now we're just doing a 5. I actually think he's stronger than just the 5, but we'll see how it goes with that on there. You need to be able to consistently make your lifts. Prove to yourself over and over again that you know how to do this stuff. Here we go, champ. 1, 2, 3, up. Nice. Yeah, there you go. Good. Smooth.
Yeah.
See, like it, and if we didn't go for that weight, if he just went for the 10, what could potentially happen is, well, 1, someone can get injured, right? 2, you can end up with not enough work for the day. I know all of you probably hated school as much as I did, but remember in school they used to say, show me your work. How'd you get to your answer? And when it comes to strength training, when it comes to strength and conditioning, you need to be able to show how much work you did for the day. Really, really important. And if you only went plate, and you missed a set, you didn't have enough work to stimulate the muscles properly, stimulate your body properly to get any stronger.
Yeah.
Notice we're going back and forth, halfway decent pace. We're also not really rushing anything. I don't know how many minutes it has been between each set, but maybe 3 to 5 at the most. Yeah, somewhere in there. When I was training at Westside, we would have a group of like 3 or 4, sometimes 5. We just kind of go one after another. We didn't really count. But what would happen is people would drop off, and then the strongest guys would be left, and they actually wouldn't rest longer. You'd think they would kind of keep the same rhythm, but they just keep plowing through it usually. Build up a tolerance that way.
Yeah, the goal, for us, it's always how fast we can get the job done.
Right.
Especially with the fighters, is repeating those bouts of energy.
Right.
So the quicker rest times actually play to our advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can be strong and stay strong, still produce force, it's good.
Yeah, over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So for you guys, you might use a lighter percentage.
Yeah.
And go at it just more often with
yeah.
shorter rests. Kind of like you were showing us with the running.
Mm-hmm.
400 meters.
Mm-hmm.
That looked brutal.
Get up. Let's go. Come on. Easy. Good ball. Come on. Up.
Back.
Up. Let's go now. Tight.
Race.
Right. Get up. Come on.
Nice.
Work. Up. Come on. Good. One more. Let's go.
Up.
Right. Yeah, lock it out. Come on. Come on.
Rep,
Work.
that's rep. Nice.
Good.
Lots of locking out there. Long ass arms. Woo. That felt good. There we go. Phil got 225. Then you got 245. Maybe 255. And right here we have 265. Cool thing is you already got a good amount of work in. And if we can work through this one and get a triple right here, this would be awesome.
Boom. Let's
Go
go.
1, 2, 3, up.
Squeeze. Up. Yeah.
Nice.
Go up, Bill.
Good, you got it.
One
You got
more.
the base.
Come on. Good. Lock it. Yep. Lock it.
Powerful. Nice work. Jump change. I always like doing what I call a secondary barbell movement. Yeah, supplemental exercise. And then weights. For me personally, weights, percentages, reps, and sets, I've never really given much of a fuck about them. I just do them. I call it some for a few. I think she was saying on the podcast earlier, she just does whatever she wants. Same here. Yeah, same here. Same here. I do what I want. But I am looking for a certain stimulus. So I did change the rep range. I did set to 3. And now we're going to move into maybe 8 to 10. See how that feels. So that's why we reduced the weight. This looks like a weight for me that I can handle pretty good for a set of 8 to 10. Probably do 2 or 3 sets of this and then move on to the next thing. But yeah, not much of a percentage person.
Let's go now. Easy.
Yeah, buddy. You know what, too, is I'll go with a little closer grip. Switch things up a little bit.
Come on.
Up.
Go. Right. That's easy. Nice and fast. Come on. Let's go. Work it out. Do it up. Good. Come on. Finish.
Yeah, that felt good. That felt really good.
Yeah, we'll do this a lot. We'll work up to a heavy single or a triple. And then we'll back off probably 10, 20%, depending.
Yep.
I'll either do 2 drop down sets or I'll go 1 drop down with an AMRAP for the fighters. You get and you're talking about work, we're talking about density of training.
Yep.
So as much as you can in with that
I think
large
2
amount.
plates probably be perfect,
Yeah.
at least for the first set. I know a lot of people, they use percentages. I think coaches use percentages because then the athletes doesn't have any idea on what to use. But I've also taken, whatever that first number is. Let's say coach says, hey, take it down to 80% of what you did for 3 reps or whatever it is. You can also just look at it on a scale of 1 to 10 and say, all right, coach is looking for an 8. I found that to be really useful and helpful for me personally. Here we go.
Go, Phil.
Those reps in there.
Rep 'em out,
1,
Phil.
2, 3. Yep.
Rep it out. Nice.
Last one. Wow.
Thing feels light.
Sick. Yeah, it feels great after those chains. Those chains felt deadly.
You feel like you're not lifting much. Then you take them off, you're like, oh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, it's they're 20 pounds a piece, so it adds up quick, and it feels like some real dead weight on there. When you take it off, when you take the chains off, it feels like somebody's like spotting you through the lift. You're like, what's going on here?
That's what we call post-activation potentiation.
There we go.
A big ass term.
Potentiation.
That shit's crazy.
Don't hit that potentiation button on the Compex. You ever done that before?
No.
I think we'll send you to the moon. Holy fuck. There's some sort of I don't know, electrocutes you pretty bad. Hey, be careful out there.
words to live by. What are you drinking on there? What you got in there?
Just
Special stuff? You can't tell nobody?
It's just steroids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jordan's special stuff from Space Jam.
It's vitamin A, which stands for anadrol. It's vitamin A2, which stands for anavar.
Oh, we're mixing it up.
Vitamin D, which stands for D-ball.
You got it all.
A little bit of Winnie in there.
You got some C? You got some C?
Spring-
Some cocaine?
Sprinkle on a little cocaine.
Let's go, baby. Come on.
Don't be afraid to get a little fired up. You know, when you're about to do your top sets. You guys saw me going through the other ones. I'm going to concentrate a little bit harder on this one because I think it needs a little extra love. So I'm just going to pace back and forth here for a second. I'll be right back.
Come on.
Here we go. Attack it.
Let's go.
Come on.
Dig in. Let's go. Brace. Brace. Come on out. Keep the back.
Bar tight. Come on.
Here it is.
Get that motherfucker. Let's go. Come on. Easy work.
Go, man.
Let's go, Mark.
Move.
Let's go now. All yours. Let's
Move
go.
'em.
Drive.
Yeah.
Drive. Easy. Let's go.
There you go.
Come on, work.
There you go.
Push.
Nice.
Push. Let's go. Come on. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Get up.
Yeah.
Again. Get up. Come on.
There you
Get
go.
up. Two. Come on. Good. Good. One more. Let's go. Drive. Get that shit up. Go. Good. Good.
There we go. I got to roll off the ground here. Whew. Hey, head pop off. I think everybody, every person has had some sort of adversity in your life you can draw upon. And you can equal the occasion. You can rise up to whatever occasion's in front of you. You can draw upon those. So, like for me, it's all negative, unfortunately. It's all kind of stuff from my past that happened that sucks that I can draw upon. Just, each person's a little different. Somebody might think, oh, I'm a badass. I'm gonna make this weight. And they might think those terms. But for me, it's always kind of underdog approach, Everyone's counting me out type thing, which I know that no one's counting me out, but it's my own personal thing that I tap into before I engage in some of this stuff. And then you saw the results. I was able to sneak out 12 reps right there. I didn't know. I knew 8 would be there. Wasn't sure if 10 would be there, but went for it. Get yourself in the right headspace and see what it can do for you.
Come on. Let's go.
Come on now, here we go.
Rep them out.
Super Training Gym, let's go. Represent. Come on now.
Keep moving.
You're representing everybody you coach right here. Come on now. 1, 2, 3, up. Come on now, get it moving. Nice.
Come
Yep.
on.
3,
Keep going.
4,
Yeah, let's go. Come on. Up.
5, 6,
Let's go.
7,
Keep going.
8,
Keep going.
9. Yep.
Keep going.
10. Get it. Yep. Come on now. Yeah. Yeah. Woo. Deep water. All right, now he's stuck there legitimately. Good stuff, man. One thing I really love about training with weights is it's so black and white. And I would even say outside of the gym, I think your nutrition is even more black and white because it seems to be, it's a little different for everybody, but it seems to be like a 1-to-1 ratio. You put in a certain amount of work and you get a certain result. With weight training, it can get a little more complicated because as bad as you might want something, you may try too hard and you may kind of continually bury yourself. But for the most part, it's kind of a 1-to-1 ratio in here as well. Yes, you can overdo it, and yes, you can underdo it. But if you're working hard and you do this for a long time, working hard, you hear people saying all the time, pay attention to your body, right? Like, well, what does that mean? Well, it means to basically just not ignore it and just try not to be dumb to it. Try not to be numb to it. If your shoulder hurts really bad on a particular day, as much as I know you all love powerlifting, you all love strength training, I got news for you. you don't have to bench press on that particular day. You won't go to hell. You won't be hauled off to jail for it. Okay, it's very difficult to not do it for that day. But this guy right here will tell you he trains world champions. He sees them every day. He sees the top of the line people. Oftentimes it's they just won't put them champions like that won't put themselves in a compromising position. They just know better. A lot of times it's the things that you don't do, and it makes it difficult because you got to go for it sometimes, right? But so you saw us doing a bunch of floor pressing. We worked up to a heavy weight, and then we went all in on a good set of 12. Both of us, fantastic. And then I just wanted to finish up and kind of showing you how to squeeze the upper back and how you can utilize this movement to teach people how to bench press. So bench, squat, and deadlift, as I mentioned earlier, we always use the bar to get in position. In addition to that, on bench, squat, and deadlift, we're always trying to organize our diaphragm, our sternum. We're always trying to get this up at least a little bit. For certain people, when it comes to squatting and deadlifting, if they're very, very mobile, then we might have to be careful. They might overextend. They might be too upright. But really all we're trying to do is we're trying to stabilize the spine. We're trying to get a neutral spine. And so for someone like me who's a little hunched forward from all the years of training like a douchebag and being jacked and tan, I'm a little bit like this, right? So now I got to figure out a way to kind of pull everything up and back and get the
pecs, man.
Get the shoulder. Yeah, you want the pecs to go straight to the sky, right? And hopefully it doesn't give your training partner a boner. But there's
no promises.
There's a first time for everything, right? So I'm gonna line up on this, and I just want to show you guys how to utilize your back when you're doing a bench press. So we're just gonna get a normal. For me, my normal bench grip is with my ring finger on the power ring, just right here. Your grip might be slightly different. But as I go to come down, an important thing to note here is that when we take weight out of the rack, we try to pull the weight out of the rack. We don't try to push it up like this, because then look at how far off my shoulders are from the ground, right? And now I'm going to be shoving like this the whole time, which that's not going to be great. We want to shorten that range a little bit, and we want to be back in here. And you want our shoulders kind of glued to the ground. So as I take the weight out, I'm going to pull the weight out. And as I go to come down, rather than just kind of letting the arms just kind of hit the ground or let the arms just sit here, I'm going to actually pull myself in. Did you guys see that little move there? I'm going to pull myself in. Really, like I just popped my shoulders, yeah? So you're really trying to squeeze the lats hard. I'll do a little demo here. And I'll do like 10 reps, and I'll pull each one in. So I did that kind of shitty. Let me start over. I don't want to give you a bad example. Use the bar, get yourself in position. Well, bam, now we're in good position. I like to boost my hips up just a tiny bit so I can pull the weight out if I don't have someone lifting off. Now the weight is out and over me. I'm going to bring the weight down, and once it gets to here, I'm going to pull it. And this is exaggerated, but if it was normal speed, it would just look like this. So there's a little transfer down at the bottom there. But again, if you want to pull the weights into you, don't just let the thing sit here like this, and don't be all loosey-goosey. Pull it in. By doing this, you're going to be able to be so much more explosive. And when you actually go to do a bench press, you'll be able to drop the weights really fast too, which is important for explosive power. To have a fast eccentric and a fast concentric, you end up kind of turning your bench work into plyo work in a way. So it'll look like this. I feel like I almost knocked myself out pushing so hard. But, you know, like, I don't know fucking shit about MMA, right? So I wouldn't know how to transfer that over. But imagine if you could develop a little bit of this power and then have the skill set behind it, right? We'll show you again. Pull the weight down into you. I mean, it literally feels like I can jack the weight right through the ceiling there.
So essentially what he's doing is he's increasing the stretch reflex. So he's stretching out the pecs, the anterior delt, and as he goes to refire, it's on stretch, so he can contract a lot faster. He's bringing it down with an overspeed eccentric, so he's coming down as fast as he can, which is going to help with ballistic style training. So it is going to increase explosive power, and whatever weight that they have on there, it will be predicated towards what specific strength he's actually utilizing. So the higher the weight, right? Obviously, the bar's not going to come down as fast because we got to maintain stability, right? But again, if you're looking to increase explosive strength, it can be a little lighter, and he can actually pull that bar down and redirect force, which is going to help with that stretch reflex, which is important for combat sports. And again, he said something that's I want to make sure that we reiterate, is that when he talked about pulling the shoulder forward. Now I know in fighting, you're gonna push forward, you're gonna protract your shoulders.
Yeah, you want it to be long.
Yeah, but with this, because you have load on the outside or the end of your body, you want to make sure that you're stable back there so that you can, one, reduce the risk of injury and still get the stimulus that we're trying to attain.
Give it a try. I would say, you know, do a couple where you get used to it first if you haven't ever tried it before. I'll just go crazy on the first one. Yeah, good position. Yeah, there you go. Pull the elbows through the ground though. Yep, there you go. That's it. Yep. Nice. Whew. Gotcha. You I know it looks chaotic, right? In some ways, but it's a good teaching tool. You might want to have, if it was somebody newer, you'd want to have them slow it down and hold it and say 1, 2, 3, maybe have them pause it for 5 seconds, but make sure they're pulling. You know, you could put something down, you could put down some foam and actually watch them push into the foam. It's going to really help their positioning on bench pressing. I see so many people as they get to the bottom of a bench press, their shoulder starts kind of going like this a lot. And you don't want that. You want the elbow to continue to travel kind of back and down and really make sure you're pulling into you.
That's important. A lot of times, like I see that with every fighter, because they're so anteriorly torqued and producing that rotation upward, we can get them to pull back again. When we talk about balancing out the body, it's going to be very good. That was different, right? That was different. I think what I would have to do again is get that foam and just work on squeezing that at the end range. But I like it. I'll use this with a close grip bench press on dynamic effort days, where I'll come just shy of the chest. So it'll be like an inch off the chest, ballistics. Yeah. So I know you guys done that at Westside too.
Oh, hell yeah.
All right, cool.
Done that a ton. You want to hit anything else up for upper body, or?
Well, I mean, we can do some accessories. Triceps.
Yeah, or like maybe a timed dumbbell bench press. Have you done one of those in a while? No. Oh, you've never done one before? Oh, all right. Let's go to the pain cave.